Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and today is Thursday, October 23rd at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We have a game tonight between the LA Chargers hosting the Minnesota Vikings. And if you didn't know, I am a Charger fan. If you're new to the channel, surprise, surprise. We're repping them, and we're going to talk every single player in this game, who you're going to start, and who you're going to sit. Let's go. Dang, we missed the intro. There's always some little hiccup every time I go live. There's always just like one little thing that's just out of place, but it's all right. We're good. We got it to roll. And we're going to start off this video, as we always do, with the injury report. Very relevant tonight. A lot of players that are up in the air, and whether they're out or returning, things are moving. For the Chargers, their running back situation is pretty gross. Omarion Hampton is on IR, and all the reports are that it's going to be longer than just the minimum 4 games. So the team has a bye in week 12, and I do not expect Hampton back until after that point. So let me get the rectangle in the right spot. Hampton is on IR. So Kimani Vidal is the starter, and then his backup, Hassan Haskins, has been ruled out as well with a hamstring injuries, and Najee Harris is on IR. So the backup to Kimani Vidal, I believe, will be Naheem Hines. Naheem Hines, I believe, will be the backup running back tonight. So Kimani Vidal already getting like 75% of the workload, probably going to get closer to 90%, and maybe that does boost his floor, perhaps. But there's also some injuries on the offensive line for the Chargers, and it does appear that Joe Alt will be coming back. Joe Alt is expected to play tonight. He is still questionable. We will get official word in the next like 20-30 minutes, I believe, and I am assuming all the reports I've read say that Joe Alt will come back. So that's a huge bump for Justin Herbert, really important, and I'm really looking forward to that as a Charger fan. But right tackle Trey Pipkins is a game time decision. That one is more 50-50, and I do not know if he will play. I think he missed last week. So they're piecing it together with random guy Austin Deculus. Jamari Salyer also questionable, but I think Joe Alt will play, and that's all I really need to know. That's their best player on the O-line, and that's pretty critical. So that is good news on the defensive side of the ball. If we scroll down, we can pull up the Chargers' defensive players, and overall, there aren't like that many people coming back. There's a lot of guys on IR here. Like we see Deshaun Hand, the defensive end, is on IR. Jamari Caldwell is questionable. The defensive end, Otito Ogbonia, exited last week, got hurt. He's on IR. Josh Fuga, who he was replacing, has been on IR for even longer. And then Junior Colson, also on IR. Dean Leonard, the cornerback, is on IR as well. And Jordan Oladukin, also on IR. So is Eric Rogers as well. But when it comes to the starters that are available, Elijah Molden, the free safety, is questionable, and that's definitely a bump. They also got Khalil Mack back on the team last week. That's very important. And then Denzel Perryman has also returned from being injured as well. So they are getting healthier. The Chargers are improving a little bit, but it's not 100%. They're still missing some key pieces. Troy Dye is questionable, but until Junior Colson and Dean Leonard come back, I think those are the two most important players that are out for the Chargers, especially linebacker Junior Colson. Their run defense could sure use him available. So that's it for the Chargers injuries. Now we can move on to a different side of the ball. And these are the Vikings injuries. This is the Vikings depth chart. So they are going to be without J.J. McCarthy tonight. He is questionable and he was limited in practice, but Kevin O'Connell has stated they are going to keep him as the third string emergency quarterback. So Carson Wentz will get his 4th consecutive start with the team, and the offense has looked better with Carson Wentz. Still not amazing. He still turns it over quite often, but probably the biggest news for this game is that running back Aaron Jones was activated off of IR, and although the screenshot I took earlier in the day says that he's still on IR, he's been activated. He's questionable. He is expected to play tonight. Kirk Herbstreit, who's calling the game, has tweeted they're expecting Aaron Jones to be available. So that's good news. That's definitely positive. It's a great matchup as well against the Chargers' run defense. They're pretty bad. So Aaron Jones coming back is going to be a big boost to their offense, in my opinion. Xavier Scott is questionable. I think he'll suit up, but with Aaron Jones coming back, he loses value. And then Rondale Moore, wide receiver of theirs, is on IR, but pretty irrelevant. Fullback CJ Ham is out, but it's really just about the offensive line. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw is questionable. He's one of the best left tackles. At worst, like top 10 in the league. I would consider him like top 5 personally, but definitely a good one that may not play. I think he'll suit up though. I believe he will be available. And then right tackle Brian O'Neill has also been dealing with injuries, but did play last week. I am assuming he will be good to go for this matchup. So their left tackle and right tackle questionable right now, but I think will suit up for this game. Let's talk about the defense now, where in general, the Vikings defense is very healthy, but it's been weeks now. They are still not getting Andrew Van Ginkel back. So the veteran linebacker that's pretty important to their defense, not healthy, has missed like 3, if not 4 straight games. He's been out for about a month. So those are the injuries for this game. And now we can move on to the running backs and whether or not you're going to start these players. For Minnesota, let's get them on the screen. Whoa, that is a little bit big. Let's zoom out. Just a little too big. Here we go. I think you should be starting both running backs for the Vikings. Maybe you're unwilling to trust Aaron Jones off of his injury, but I think you should because this matchup is so good. But I would start Jordan Mason above Aaron Jones. Jordan Mason is my running back 18, and I don't think his job is in question. So especially on the goal line, I expect Jordan Mason to get some touches tonight. And the Chargers defense has allowed 7 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 games. So Jordan Mason with the second best matchup tonight. I do think you want to be starting the Vikings running backs. Take advantage of this good matchup. So Mason, I think, should be in your lineup, and Aaron Jones, I think, should be a high-end flex play. Because there are 6 teams on bye, Aaron Jones does rank inside my top 20. However, I don't think it's the safest bet. It's obviously just matchup driven, and I do not feel 100% comfortable, but based on the upside, I think Aaron Jones is probably worth it as one of my favorite flex options tonight. So at RB 19 and 18, I think you should be starting both Vikings running backs. And because Aaron Jones is available, I think you can drop Xavier Scott. I no longer rank Xavier Scott, and if Aaron Jones is going to be healthy rest of season, there's just not enough volume going to Xavier Scott for him to work out. So I would be dropping him. I doubt you even rostered him. He was very low owned overall. So that's just something I wanted to mention. You can get rid of the backup Xavier Scott. And then on the other side of the ball, because Hassan Haskins is out, I think Kimani Vidal is a little bit safer, but not the best matchup overall. The Vikings rank 24th in terms of most fantasy points allowed. So not a great matchup, bottom 9, bottom 10 against the Vikings run defense. And last week they really shut down Saquon Barkley, definitely a better running back than Kimani Vidal. So Vidal is a little bit matchup dependent, pretty much dependent on volume. And although I do expect a lot of volume to go to him, he's just my running back 24. I think he's a flex play, nothing better. And I would rather go with Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason tonight. So not my favorite matchup, not my favorite player. He torched the Dolphins, but last week in a much more difficult matchup against the Colts, not even close. And I don't think Kimani will crack like 14, 13 points. Like if you get more than 10, I think you're lucky to get that from Kimani. So hoping for some added targets for him. But with Hassan Haskins going down, we do consider Nyheim Hines a little bit more interesting, but not gonna definitely not gonna start Nyheim Hines. He comes in at RB 48, and it's just because there's so many teams on bye why he even cracks the top 50. But not shown here on the screen. I'm only showing you the top 36, and I would not get cute. I'm not going to trust Nyheim Hines. But Kimani Vidal, a decent flex play, RB 24. You could do worse. But behind Chase Brown, that's kind of emblematic. The upside feels capped for Kimani Vidal. So that's it for the running backs. Let's move on to the quarterback position, where I think you want Justin Herbert in your lineup. Herbert has had some really good games. Last week he threw for 420 yards and 3 touchdowns. And although he also threw 2 interceptions, he was the quarterback 2 in overall points. So their defense still sucks. I do not trust them to stop the Vikings pretty well. So I think out of necessity, Herbert has to throw like crazy, and Herbert will figure things out. He is my quarterback 5. I would be starting Justin Herbert tonight. I think he'll have a good game, good passing numbers, and a lot of volume will carry him. He has good weapons, so I like Justin Herbert. However, if you're in a super flex league with 6 teams on bye, I consider Carson Wentz a legitimate flex option. In a 1 quarterback league, no thank you. I will be benching Carson Wentz if I can. But he has had some good passing numbers since becoming the starter. He has over 300 yards in 2 of his 3 games. And I do see some upside. I don't really trust the Chargers defense to be stopping anyone. So they're an average matchup for quarterbacks, so neutral overall. And I just like the Vikings offense. I trust Kevin O'Connell. They have good weapons. And not only has Justin Jefferson played well, but Addison has also stepped up as well. So I do think Wentz has a safe floor. I expect some turnovers from him, at least 1 interception most likely. But I do think in a super flex format, if you're starting 2 QBs, he will finish top 20, and that is worth a super flex start in those settings. So Carson Wentz, my quarterback 16 on the bubble. Odds are I'll bench him, though, in a 1 quarterback league. And then Justin Herbert, off of last week's game, can't really envision you're benching him. The Vikings defense isn't that scary. They did just let Jalen Hurts completely torch them coming off their bye week. So I like Justin Herbert. I think he's a very safe play, definitely top 5. And in my 3rd tier, I think if you have him, you should be starting him. The matchup is not scary. That is for sure. So that's the quarterback position for tonight's game. I'm starting Justin Herbert. I'm super flexing Carson Wentz. And now we can move on to the wide receiver position, where for the Chargers, if you have Keenan Allen, I can't really envision you're benching Keenan. He's been really prolific, and I looked up his stats against the Vikings. Holy shit. The last time Keenan played against Minnesota was last year with the Chicago Bears, and in both games, he had over 13 targets, 80-plus yards, and a touchdown in each game. Last year, when he was with the Chicago, he was fantastic, 80-plus yards and a touchdown in both games. So he's dominated them last year. And then if we go back 2 years ago, he had potentially the game of his life against the Vikings in Minnesota. In that game, in 2023, Keenan had 20 targets, 18 catches, 215 yards, and he also threw a 49-yard touchdown to Mike Williams. So in that game alone, he had 29 fantasy points, and for that reason, I think he is a must start. I'm a little bit worried about his age, but because last week he also dominated and he's played so well against Minnesota, I consider him a lock in the lineup. At wide receiver 6, I cannot think of a reason to be benching Keenan Allen. So the only thing I can maybe think of is he's 33 years old and he's a veteran on Thursday night. Are they going to send him 20 targets? I doubt that. But he's played so well against the Vikings, and I don't think they can cover him. I just don't see why you would bench Keenan Allen. I would keep him in the lineup, and with no reason to fade him, I'll just put him as such a lock in the top 10. At wide receiver 6, no doubt about it, you are starting Keenan Allen tonight. But I also think you're starting Ladd McConkey with some confidence as well. Ladd has really stepped up the last 3 games. One of them, Quentin Johnston was missing, but Ladd actually has the most targets of all 3 Chargers receivers in his last 3 active games. Ladd has 30 targets total over the last 3 weeks. So even though Keenan is doing more with his volume, Keenan has 28 targets the last 3 weeks. I fully trust Ladd. The floor feels pretty safe, and I expect Justin Herbert to be lighting it up in the passing game. So I want to be starting both Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey, both inside my top 15 at wide receiver. But they have a third guy, Quentin Johnston, and I would be starting him as well. Quentin Johnston is my wide receiver 20, and although he feels like a little bit more of a flex play, I could argue he has higher upside than both Ladd and Keenan. He's more athletic, faster, and he's really hard to tackle. So as long as he doesn't drop it, as long as he's not um, getting in his own way, then Quentin Johnston is typically a safe start, but his volume has diminished a little bit. In his last 3 healthy games, he only has 23 targets. So that's 7 fewer than Ladd, 5 fewer than Keenan. I do think Quentin Johnston is starting to be relegated to the number 3 receiver at this point in time. But Trey Harris has gotten a little bit more work the last few weeks. Part of that is because QJ did get hurt. And I'm not ranking, definitely not starting Trey Harris. But at some point, I could see him factor in. It might not happen until Keenan Allen goes down or retires, though. I am not starting Trey Harris, but I'm still going to start Quentin Johnston. He's in the flex conversation, but a pretty safe start. I am telling you to put him in the lineup. But I do have Ladd McConkey ranked 7 spots higher at 13, and then I do have Keenan Allen in my top 6. So that is who I think the number 1 Chargers receiver is, Keenan, then Ladd at number 2, and then QJ is number 3. But all 3 have very high upside. I would be starting all 3 Chargers receivers tonight. On the opposite side of the ball, let's talk about the Minnesota wide receivers. And for the Vikings, I think it's a no-brainer. You are 100% starting Justin Jefferson. Jefferson is my wide receiver 3, and although he did not go over 100 yards last week, in his previous 2 with Carson Wentz, he did crack over 100 yards. So I think that'll happen. If we look at his career against the Chargers, I was able to find 2 career games against them, and in those 2 games, he is averaging 12 targets, 8 catches for 146 yards with 1 touchdown in 2 games against LA. In both Chargers matchups in his career, Justin Jefferson has over 140 yards in both of them, 149 and 143. So I'm not projecting 140 yards tonight, but if you told me he goes over 100, that's not a surprise at all. He's done it in 2 out of his last 3 games, and I would expect them to throw it a lot. So 100%, I'm starting Justin Jefferson. Maybe he doesn't score a touchdown, but I can't think of a reason to bench him. And based on draft capital, he's in my top 5. My wide receiver 3 in this matchup. I'm also starting Jordan Addison with a lot of confidence. Addison has also been popping off with Carson Wentz. In Addison's last 3 games with Carson Wentz, his average stat line is this: 8.7 targets, 6 receptions, 94 yards per game, and 1 touchdown. Jordan Addison is averaging 14.4 points per game in his last 3. So I think he's earned must-start status. I was a little bit worried yesterday when I did the start-sit video, or 2 days ago, that J.J. McCarthy would be the quarterback. If that happens, then I would hit the panic button, and I would probably not be starting Addison with confidence. But Wentz is the guy this week. I'm not worried about J.J. McCarthy, and I do believe Addison is a safe start. So if you are deciding between Addison and Quentin Johnston, I would go with Addison. I really trust him. And averaging 14.4 points with Wentz, that's a no-brainer. That's actually just behind Jefferson. Jefferson's averaging 14.6 points per game, but Jefferson has not scored a touchdown with Carson Wentz. So Jefferson maybe doesn't have as high of a ceiling, but the touchdown is going to be inevitable, and his floor is 14 points. He's averaging over 100 yards per game with Wentz at quarterback. So I trust both of them. I'm starting both Vikings receivers. However, they do have some backup wideouts that do factor in a little bit, but I don't feel confident enough to start either of them. So I have not ranked Jalen Nailor nor Adam Thielen. Neither of them are inside my top 60 at the position. So not telling you to start them, but I am trusting Jefferson and Addison. So that's it for the wide receiver position. We are almost done, but let's move on to tight ends, where we do have a new breakout candidate in Oronde Gadsden. If you picked up Oronde Gadsden, it is hyper tempting to start him, but given all of the factors combined, I don't know if I'm going to do it no matter what. I think it's a little bit too bold for me to rank him inside the top 7, top 6. I'd rather go with someone like Harold Fannin, who you probably got off the waiver wire as well. The matchup for Fannin is awesome. Cade Otton, I think, is going to get a lot of volume, so I trust Cade Otton as well. And then Goddard has also had a lead upside. I also trust Travis Kelce a little bit, even more than him. But at number 11, I would say Oronde Gadsden is my favorite streamer on the week. So in a 12-team league, I would be starting Gadsden. But are you really expecting the same output from him on short rest. He's a rookie. He played on Sunday, now playing on Thursday, and he put up 174 yards on like 7 catches. So like, I don't really know what to make of him. I kind of want to say that he's a top 5 tight end, a league winner rest of the season, but that also feels kind of unrealistic. So I'm pumping the brakes a little bit, but at the same time, I'm discounting him from where I want to rank him at number 5. So I have him at 11. I think you can definitely plug him in and expect a good game. What's interesting about Gadsden is he's very boom bust. He's played in 5 games this year. I think he did miss 1 or 2, but his stat lines are kind of weird. He has 3 games with 7 or more targets. And in those 3 games, he's averaging 93 yards on 63 catches, an average of 14.5 points per game. So that's as good as Addison and Jefferson in those 3 games. But if you look at the other games, his average target share is only like 2 targets in those ones. And then his average points falls down to 2.2. So with Gadsden, it's all or nothing. He's a true boom bust option. And I don't feel like the safest to plug him in the lineup. But at number 11, the upside feels so undeniable. I would probably do it if I was streaming the position and I just picked him up. So if he's your guy, if he's on the bench and maybe you've been like trying to replace, I don't know, Brock Bowers or something, then yeah, go ahead and start Oronde Gadsden. But there are some, I think, safer plays. Like Kelsey still feels safer. Goddard, I think, is still a little bit more likely to be better. Cade Otton, the volume feels locked in with all the injuries at receiver. Evans just went down. Fannin has a great matchup and should bounce back with Njoku out, so I like Fannin as well. And then Kincaid and Andrews have played well this season. The top 4 are no-brainers. So the highest I could go was 11, but I do feel like I might be like 5 spots too low on Gadsden. He was amazing last week, but kind of came out of nowhere. A rookie. How long will it repeat? I'm not totally sure. But with the injuries in their offense, I think he can still continue to step up. But I'd rather start the receivers than Gadsden. When it comes to TJ Hawkinson, his matchup is not good. The Chargers are bottom 5 in terms of matchups for tight ends this season. And Hawkinson just doesn't have the upside. He has no touchdowns this year. And he also is only giving you about 40 yards with Carson Wentz. So he's averaging 6.7 points. The floor is fine. He is in the streaming conversation, but because the matchup is bad, I have him at the bottom of the tier. And I think 13 through 20 are all kind of interchangeable, but I literally have him as the last option. I'd rather go with Kyle Pitts or Chigo Okonkwo. Great matchup for Okonkwo this week. Jonnu and Freiermuth have a great matchup. Hunter Henry feels more reliable. Ingram is also a bit safer, similar volume for him, but I kind of like the offense better, and the matchup is good. And then Mason Taylor has a top 3 matchup this week against the Bengals. So all kind of similar, but based on all of the factors, I have TJ Hawkinson at the bottom. And at tight end 20, I'm telling you to bench TJ Hawkinson. But if you rely on him, if you do like him, I can understand keeping him. I just wouldn't do it. I think it's a little too cute. There's so many options at tight end this week. It's kind of crazy. I even kind of like Taysom Hill, who I have at 21, even more than TJ Hawkinson, but that feels a little too risky. Probably not going to do that. Anyways, that's it for the tight end position. Go ahead and start Gadsden. I'd probably be benching TJ Hawkinson. And then when it comes to the defenses, if you told me JJ McCarthy was the quarterback, then I'd probably bump up the Chargers by about 5 or 6 spots. I think the Chargers would be a safer start because of that Michigan connection. Jesse Minter's defense would know the weaknesses of JJ McCarthy, but it's Carson Wentz, and Kevin O'Connell is such a good coach. They had a bye recently, so I could see their game plan be really good. I think this game is going to be a shootout. I don't want to be starting either defense. I think both offenses could score 30 tonight. So I'm going to tell you to bench both of them, but there are 6 teams on bye. So in reality, this is one of the more intriguing games to start defenses on. And Wentz can also throw a pick 6 at any time. So I am tempted to start them, but I'm just not bold enough to do it. I think it's a very close game, and I think the Chargers barely win. So that's my tiebreaker. But outside the top 14 at 15 and 16, I don't think you should be starting them in a regular league with only 12, 14 teams. They're not starters, in my opinion. The floor is non-existent, And I think you need a pick six to really crack 10 points. So I think it's a low floor proposition, very risky. Honestly, there could be some negatives coming from both defenses. I would bench them, but at 15, 16, I guess you could do worse. But they are below my start sit line. The black line is where I'm benching players below that point. No, thank you. So right beyond the bubble, I'm telling you no to the Chargers and Vikings. But I would stash both of them. I think they're both really talented. And I know the Chargers have a good schedule coming up. The Titans game next week, I'm definitely going to start the Chargers. But this week, no. Against the Vikings, I think I'll pass with LA and Minnesota. Their defenses, I think, have a little bit too much risk, in my opinion. But last position to mention would be the kicker position. And I like both teams' kickers. I think if you have Cameron Dicker or Will Riker, those guys I think are top 10 options at the position. I think you should be starting both kickers tonight. And I think Riker is actually going to have the better game. I think Riker will be kicking more field goals than Dicker. But Dicker can score from 50, 60 yards out. He's one of the most accurate guys in the league. So I would definitely roster Cameron Dicker if I can. I think both kickers are good options. So start both of them. And when it comes to every player, these are the players I am starting tonight. I think Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback. Definitely want him in my lineup. I think Keenan is a no-brainer. Keenan has earned your trust. He's a top 6 receiver for me. And then Ladd, I have at number 13. So definitely 100%. I am starting Ladd McConkey. And then I'm also considering Oronde Gadsden a starter in a 12-team league. At tight end number 11, I would be starting Oronde Gadsden. I'm also going to start both wide receivers for the Vikings. Give me Justin Jefferson as a top 3 receiver and Jordan Addison inside the top 20. I would be starting both receivers for the Vikings. But I'm also going to start Jordan Mason. The matchup is elite against the Chargers. They are the most vulnerable rushing defense the last 4 games. They're allowing the most fantasy points among any matchup you can find in that span to the position. So I do expect a touchdown for Jordan Mason tonight. The Chargers have allowed 7 in the last 3 games, and I would be starting Mason, no doubt about it. But also start both kickers. Cameron Dicker and Will Riker will be safe plays this week. They are top 10, in my opinion. But there are also some players that I would still start, but more likely are going to be in the flex conversation for you. And I think all 4 of these guys are good flex plays. Obviously, Carson Wentz is a quarterback, so only in a super flex format. But if you have to start 2 QBs, I do rank him top 20 at 16. I would consider Wentz a good option in super flex. But Aaron Jones, I think, is my favorite running back to flex this week. I love the matchup, and I think he will contribute. He's good to go. He's expected to play tonight. Activated off IR. I think he will play well. I think he will have a good shot at a touchdown, and he's also going to catch a bunch of passes. The Chargers have allowed 47 receiving yards on average to running backs in their last 3 games. They are very vulnerable. I expect Aaron Jones to have at least 20, 25 receiving yards, if not more, tonight. I want to be starting Aaron Jones if I can. But I'm also starting Quentin Johnston with confidence. He's actually my top 20 receiver, so maybe I should have put him in the outright start category. And then Kamani Vidal, also a good flex play. With no Hassan Haskins, the volume is even more locked in. And that's really just all you're betting on. The volume will give you a decent floor on Kamani Vidal. So go ahead and flex him. All 4 guys, I think, are fine flex plays tonight. Lastly, though, there are players I am definitely benching, but most of them aren't even rostered most of the time. These are those players. TJ Hawkinson, not a tight end I like this week. Not scoring touchdowns with Wentz and a bottom 5 matchup. The Chargers do stop tight ends well, so I would be benching TJ Hawkinson. And then I'm also probably going to drop Xavier Scott if I've been rostering him now that Aaron Jones is back. I'll go ahead and drop him. And then Josh Oliver, the backup tight end, sometimes factors in, but I will definitely not be rostering him. Not going to start Josh Oliver. And then I'm not starting the backup receivers, Jalen Naylor or Adam Thielen. That's pretty obvious. But on the Chargers side of the ball, Trey Harris, not ready to go, so don't even pick him up off the wire. And then Nyheim Hines will be the backup running back tonight, but not going to start him. And then I see a lot of offense, so going to be benching both defenses as well. So those are all of the start-sit decisions. Now is the final score prediction. This is what I think happens tonight. I am predicting that the Chargers win. I am repping my team. I'm going to stick with them. I picked them to lose to the Colts, but the Vikings are not as good as the Colts. So I think they will win tonight. And I think Justin Herbert plays very well. I think they have a great offense, but I also don't think their defense does anything. I think their defense gives up a lot of points and a lot of field goals. I envision a 2-point victory by LA. So based on the audience poll results on the channel, you guys are picking the Chargers to win. However, I think this margin of victory is a little bit too high. Y'all are at 69% to 31, and I think the Chargers will win, but it should be a closer margin. I think it's a much closer game, and I think the Vikings will cover. I actually am taking the Vikings +3. The line is according to FanDuel. And then I will take the Chargers money line. But honestly, I would probably avoid the money line wager. I think I'd rather just take Minnesota +3 because I think they can win outright. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think they should. The Chargers are a better team. But if you told me it does, I'm not going to be that shocked. I think it's a very close game within a field goal. Give me the Chargers 31-29. The Vikings will be roaring back and they go for 2 and fail on the 2-point conversion, and then the Chargers will go up with a field goal and win by 2 points. So a very close game, very competitive, a lot of offense. Chargers 31, Vikings 29. So that is it for tonight's Start Sit video. But before I pivot to the Q&A, I always give you a player projection over, under, higher, lower, pick 'em. We are an Underdog partner this year, so a reminder, new customers, promo code BLUNT. You can use the link in the description down below. The link will take you to the sign up page. Use code BLUNT, and once you play your first $5, you will get $100 in bonus funds if you use code BLUNT. So follow the link in the description if you're interested. I recommend it. That is a pretty sweet deal. If you told me when I signed up for Underdog, all I had to do was play 5 to get 100 in bonus funds, I would do it. No doubt about it. So I'm sad I can't capitalize on this deal myself, but if you are a new customer to Underdog, I really recommend it. Enter promo code BLUNT and you will get that promo. But let's show you how to spend that first $5. This is my higher lower lineup for tonight. I like to go a little bit risky. This is an all or nothing entry where I need all 5 of them to hit. However, I put down $6, and based on the 40% profit boost token, my expected prize is $233. So $6 to $233, that's a pretty good ROI. And these are the 5 projections I think the Underdog is too low on. I hit the higher on all of them. I believe Justin Herbert will have another great game. Last week he threw for over 400 yards. And given Gadsden is now contributing, I trust the passing game for LA. I do not trust Kimani Vidal. I know Herbert will throw it a lot. With Joe Alt coming back, he'll have extra time in the pocket. And I was tempted to make this projection even more difficult, but every time I wanted to boost it, I didn't feel like the multiplier was high enough. You have to go all the way up to like 290 yards for it to start to get interesting. And you never know. Time of possession could be weird. I'll stick with the baseline, 252. I think he'll throw for at least 255 tonight. Give me the higher on Justin Herbert. So that is the only no-brainer pick, in my opinion, on the Chargers. They have a lot of mouths to feed, and I am confident that Keenan is a great start. But if you told me he doesn't score a touchdown, wouldn't be shocked. If it went to somebody else, it could be weird. So I kind of want to avoid the randomness of betting on Chargers players to perform well. If there's one thing I know will happen in the Chargers offense, it's that Herbert throws a lot of passes, but where will the ball go every single time? I'm not 100% sure. So I avoided all of the Chargers player projections other than Herbert. And with the other 4, I feel pretty confident that the Vikings offense is pretty narrow, and I know what's going to happen. I think Jordan Addison will have at least one deep catch. So I think he can give you 50 yards on just one play, but in the last 3 games with Wentz, he's averaging 94. I do not trust the Chargers secondary to stop Jordan Addison. So I think Addison is going over 55 yards. Give me the higher on that. And then I also think Justin Jefferson will go over 100. In 3 games with Wentz, Jefferson is averaging 109. And although he didn't go over 100 last week, he did it in the 2 games prior to that happening. So I think 3 out of 4, it will happen. Give me Jefferson to go over 100 yards tonight. In his last 2 against the Chargers, he has gone over 140. So I like those two. I think Addison and Jefferson will be catching passes. And then I also love this matchup for Jordan Mason. I trust that the Chargers' run defense is dog shit. They've given up 7 touchdowns on the ground in the last 3 games. So Jordan Mason should be their goal line running back. I expect Mason to find a touchdown. That one, I think, is a very safe projection. I like that one a lot. And then lastly, I believe Aaron Jones will be contributing. And the Chargers aren't just vulnerable on the ground, but also to running backs that catch passes. In the last 3 games, the Chargers are allowing an average of 47 receiving yards per game to the running back position. And I know that Jordan Mason does not catch passes. If he catches more than 1, it is very lucky. And I assume that Xavier Scott is going to be an afterthought. I am not worried about Xavier Scott. So Aaron Jones will suit up tonight. I think he'll contribute, especially in the passing game. I think he'll catch 3 receptions tonight, and I think he will crush 13.5 receiving yards. I was tempted to bump it up to 25, but we already got the 40% profit boost token. No need to make it more difficult. I think Aaron Jones will hit on this projection. So those are the 5 that I'm recommending tonight. The ROI on $6 would be $233 with that 40% profit boost token. That is available for anyone up until kickoff. So these are the 4 picks. Give me Herbert to throw for over 252. Give me Addison for over 55. Give me Jefferson with over 100. Aaron Jones with 14 or more receiving yards. And lastly, Jordan Mason with a touchdown. I am excited. I am hopeful for my Chargers, but in all honesty, I kind of feel like they're going to lose. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that happened. So that's my preview for tonight's game. I think it's a very high-scoring one, and that is my assumption for tonight. So let's answer your questions. Let's get to the Q&A. The main broadcast is over, and let's close the poll. Right now, the Chargers are heavy favorites in the poll. We have 35 votes. 77% is taking the Chargers to win by at least 3 points. So you're expecting them to cover. I'm hopeful for it, but honestly, I could see a big outright upset. The Chargers defense is kind of dog shit right now. So we'll see what happens. I'll let the poll run a little bit longer, actually, and I will answer y'all's questions once I get the filter set up. I have like a filter on OBS that lets me pull up your guys' chat. Let me just get that going, and I'll answer your questions in just a few seconds. But all right. Hello, Jamie. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Bryce is in here. Yo, what's up? What's up, Bryce? Actually, before I do answer all the questions, I'm going to take a quick smoke break. Y'all know what time it is. If you see the stem poll, if you have something to smoke with me, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and join me if you would like. Sweet. Good to have all that stuff out of the way. Good to feel like we got it all done. Anyways, Bryce with a question. Start 1. Kayshon Boutte. Kyle M. Who's Kyle M? Trying to think of who Kyle M is. I'm not sure who Kyle M is. So we're not starting Kyle M if I don't know who that is. Noel, Slayton, Jaden Higgins, Noah Fant, or in full PPR. I'm going to go Jalen Noel. Are we good? Am I still okay? Genuinely have no idea if I'm still alive right now. I think I'm still going, but I'm sure there was a bit of a cutoff. My internet did cut out for like 30 seconds there. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Apologies for that. Apologies on that. We were back at this question from Bryce, Butte, Kyle M, Noel, Slayton, Jaden Higgins, and Noah Fant. I would go Jalen Noel. I trust that Christian Kirk is going to miss. He's not practicing. And I don't think Nico Collins is going to be available. He's missed 2 practices with a concussion already this week. So I expect Higgins to step up, but I trust Jalen Noel. He played much better last week. So I would go Jalen Noel there. Give me Jalen Noel in your lineup. RIP and Ship says, should I play Jordan Mason or Judkins? That is a very close call, my friend. That one is really, really close. I think I'm going to go Judkins because Aaron Jones is active, but I hate the matchup for Judkins in all honesty. Like, the matchup is so good for Jordan Mason. For Judkins, it sucks. And if Mason had the backfield all to himself, I would definitely go Mason. But he doesn't. Jones is coming back. For that reason, I think I'm going to go Judkins. I think he's a little more talented. But I literally have them back to back. I have Judkins at 17. I have Mason at 18. So in the same tier with that close of a call, do whatever you want. Like, if you have an inclination, I wouldn't be upset if you went against my rankings at all. But I think if you put a gun to my head, I would go Quinshon Judkins over Jordan Mason. It's so close, though. And I want to say Mason, but I think I'll stick with Judkins. Soul Pancakes says, I believe the Vegas is going to let the Vikings win because they're the underdog. The only Thursday night game that the underdog didn't win was the Dolphins versus Bills, but hey, who knows? I know there's been a lot of upsets, especially when like a team is like heavily favored by the public. It has not been working out too well, but I don't think there's like that big of a conspiracy. I just think the game is going to be close. I just think that people don't realize how bad the Chargers defense is. I don't think they need to gift the game away. The Chargers defense is just going to do that themselves. So I don't think the refs will be a big problem, but I just think the Chargers defense is not safe to bet on. So that's where I stand. I think the game is going to be very close and the Vikings offense will play well. But I predicted an upset last weekend on Thursday night with that Bengals prediction. I kind of want to take the underdog again, but I don't think I'm going to do it. If it was in Minnesota, I would be taking the Vikings for sure, but it's in LA. And the last couple Charger games I've been to have had like some level of home field advantage. There's actually been a crowd, percentage gain. It's actually kind of loud when the other team is on 3rd and 4th down. Like it's somewhat legit. Fans have been showing up for the Charger games. Anyway, Wow Wooly says, man, I've been wondering if I should start Gad or Kincaid. I'm going to go Kincaid, but there is a chance that Kincaid doesn't play. Kincaid is questionable right now, but I think he suits up. They have a game against the Chiefs after that, so obviously they want him healthy for that. But I think I trust Kincaid more. Kincaid has been safer, the clear go-to target for Josh Allen. I prefer Dalton Kincaid over Gadsden, but it's kind of close. I understand your question, but I would go Kincaid. Josh George says 12-team half PPR, have Kraft at tight end. Should I start Golden, Gadsden, or Mooney at flex this week? Well, 100% you're going with Kraft. Can't bench him. But damn, this is a good question for flex. I'm definitely going to bench Mooney for Golden. I'd rather go with Matthew Golden than Mooney. But the upside for Gadsden, I think, is higher. I think I would go Gadsden, but it feels so strange, man. It feels really weird to say that. But I just don't think we've seen enough from Golden consistency-wise where, like, you have to start him. Like, Love isn't really playing as well as you'd like. So I'm going to go with Aronde Gadsden. If he gets under 7 targets, you're going to be ecstatic. But that might be the wrong call. Like, you're either going to get 2 points or 15 with Gadsden. I don't think there's any in between with Gadsden. So maybe if you want to play it safer, yeah, I think I'd probably play it safer. I think I would go Golden. It's really close, but I think the safer play is Golden. The higher upside is Gadsden, but Gadsden has no floor at all. You're at least going to guarantee like 8 points with Golden, whereas with Gadsden you either get 2 or everything. So bench Gadsden. Go with Matthew Golden. Cole Barnes says Herbert or May. For context, I'm starting Lat already. Yeah, I have this situation in both of my fantasy teams myself. I have both Drake May and Herbert on both my teams. And this week, I have Herbert as the clear start, but I might be going with one in each just to balance it out. But I feel a lot more confident in Herbert this week. Much better matchup than Drake May. Give me Justin Herbert over Drake May. Rip and Ship Pokemon says, I think I need to play Mason over Judkins because the Patriots defense scares me. That's a very fair point. Yeah. That's why I have Judkins so low. Last week he was amazing, but the Dolphins matchup was great. It's kind of like Kimani Vidal. Like, you'll torch the Dolphins, but then you'll come crashing back down the week after. If you wanted to go Mason, I wouldn't blame you at all, bro. Not a bad play at all. I think Mason scores a touchdown and Judkins is like hit or miss. I still think Judkins is more talented. If Aaron Jones wasn't playing, then I'd go Mason, but that's your call. Do whatever you want. Wow says Tays get crazy points on Thursday Night Football. Tight ends. I hope so, but given he just had 174 yards, maybe he's a bit tired. There's a chance the rookie doesn't play very well on Thursday. It's also possible. Alex France says, yo, flex 2 half PPR, Keenan, Aaron Jones, Tez, or Monungai. Oh, 100% Keenan. And then I don't trust Monungai enough yet. I also don't think Tez is a safe play. Give me Aaron Jones tonight. The matchup is so good for Aaron Jones. 100%. I'm going Keenan and Aaron Jones in the flex. Yeah, looks like Cash Fee agrees is a tough call. It's very close. Safer floor would be Mason. Higher upside was Judkins. Foreign Barber says, will Keenan Allen go off? Dude, so glad you're live. I'm a new sub. You way better than Mason Dodd. I respect Mason Dodd. I will be honest with you, man. I watch the fantasy flock at times, but during the season, I don't really check up on anyone. I like Dodd's channel when he live streams Underdog Drafts. I think he's a great streamer, but appreciate your compliment, bro. I assume Keenan does go off. In the last 4 games for Keenan, he's averaging 120 yards per game. He also has a 49-yard touchdown pass and an average of 20.1 against Minnesota. And last year in both games as a Chicago Bear, he scored a touchdown, had 80-plus yards. Love Keenan Allen tonight. I think you have to start Keenan. The only like hesitation is that it's Thursday, and I know veterans aren't as good on Thursday, but I think you have to go Keenan. I think he's their wide receiver 1. I think he is. Rip and Ship says, think he's going to stick with Judkins, but it's very close. Joe Phelan says, PPR pick 2, Dobbins, Dowdle, Vidal, or Romeo Dobbs. Dobbins, Dowdle, Vidal, or Dobbs. We're going to go with J.K. Dobbins and Rico Dowdle. I do not trust Vidal over them. In full PPR, it's tempting to bench Dobbins, though. I think 100% you're starting Dowdle, and then Dobbins has such a good matchup. I'm gonna go with J.K. Dobbins. The Cowboys have been a really bad defense lately. Give me J.K. Dobbins and Rico Dowdle. Definitely bench Vidal tonight, and bench Romeo Dobbs. Joe is also asking, in non-PPR, pick 2, Chase Brown, Swift, Vidal, and Dowdle. We are going with Swift. 100% we're going with Swift this week. And then at number... Internet's so bad. We chopped that again? I think we're good now. Okay. Yeah, really sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea why the internet keeps freezing, but I'll keep going. Why is AJ Brown ranked higher than Odunze? Just curious. The Giants is a good matchup, and Odunze... Caleb isn't looking like amazing right now. Is this working? Am I still live? I think it's okay. Okay. I think we're good. But damn, this is annoying as fuck. Um okay. Looks like it's working. I think after last week you just have to go with AJ Brown. Odunze's been a little bit rough lately. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Bruce says, who should I start, Vidal or Woody Marks? Then pick 3, Pittman, Devontae Smith, Pickens, or T. Higgins. We're going with Woody Marks over Kimani Vidal. The Niners give up a lot of receptions to the running back position, and Woody is the guy in that department. Give me Woody Marks over Kimani Vidal, a much better matchup for Woody than Vidal. And then you need 3 of these receivers. I will go with Devontae Smith, Pickens, and T. Higgins. I'm going to bench Pittman among those 4. I would bench Pittman. Jamie says, don't forget it's the tight end holiday weekend, so start all your tight ends. Does National Tight Ends Day apply on Thursday, though? Does it count on Thursday if it's a holiday specifically on Sunday? It is National Tight Ends Week right now, but is it National Tight Ends Day tonight? I don't know if that counts, but I'd probably still start Oronde Gadsden. Yeah, 100%. We are starting a lot of extra tight ends this week. Teresa Palmer says, who do I play, Jordan Mason or Chase Brown? I'm going to go Jordan Mason there. I love this matchup for Mason. Chargers run defense is ass. Origami Harvest with AJ Brown or Odunze. I noticed you ranked AJ Brown way higher. Why? Like I was saying, Odunze just been a little bit tricky off of the bye and a must win for the Ravens. I could see Marlon Humphrey actually play well, and I could see the Ravens defense actually like wake the fuck up. So after last week, I think you got to go AJ Brown. They lost the first one, and AJ Brown had a decent game in that one as well to the Giants. So after last week, I got to go with AJ Brown over Odunze. Fantasy Wote says PPR Judkins or Pickens. We are benching Judkins this week. In full PPR, 100% bench Quinchon Judkins for George Pickens. Assuming Nico doesn't play, yeah, that's true. I'm not assuming he suits up either. But maybe he does practice tomorrow. Still has a chance, but I doubt it on Nico Collins. But terrible matchup for Judkins. Give me George Pickens over Quinchon Judkins. Jordan Mason says Dalton Kincaid or Gadsden. We're going with Kincaid this week. And then Jamie prefers Monungai in that question earlier, but what was that question with Monungai? Keenan, Aaron Jones, Tez, or Monungai? Nah, I'm going Aaron Jones over Monungai. And then Keenan 100%. That's my stance. But Stipular Mellow saying trade away ETN or Kamara. You get rid of Kamara, Keenan, and Bill for Jettas and Wandale. He wants ETN more. I understand why he would rather have ETN, but I'm not giving up ETN. Give up Kamara. I would take the Jettas side if I can get Kamara. Because Keenan is 33 years old. If you told me Keenan goes down at any point, even tonight, wouldn't be that surprised. I would take the Jettas trade with Wandale if I could give up Kamara, not ETN. With ETN, the price is too much. Twisted Folks says half PPR, wide receiver Keenan and Igbuka. I also have Ladd, Golden, and Tez for the flex. Ladd feels obvious, but would you choose another to diversify for upside? In the flex, I can't put Tez Johnson or Golden above Ladd. Can't bench Egbuka, can't bench Keenan. I have to trust who you got there. Yeah, Keenan, Egbuka, and Ladd are the 3 I would start. I think you'll be fine. The running back room in the Chargers offense is so bad. They're a pass first team right now. Alt comes back. They should be good. start both Keenan and Lad McConkey. Stipular Mello says trade away Etienne or Kamara. Oh yeah, we just answered this. We got as long as it's Kamara in the trade, then I'll take the Jettas side, but I'm not taking it with Etienne. And thankfully we are back. It was frozen, but we're okay. Wasn't y'all's internet? Yeah, mine refreshed twice. That's very annoying. But 267 DRB says Drake May or Justin Herbert, PPR league. We're going with Justin Herbert tonight. Give me Herbo over Drake May. The matchup is not good for Drake May. Foreign Barber says start 2. We got Saquon, Jalen Warren, DeAndre Swift, and Kyle Monangai. We are going to start Swift and Saquon. Not ready to trust Monangai that much. And then Warren has a rough matchup, but maybe a safer floor than Saquon. But you can't tell me that Saquon against the Giants at home doesn't have the number 1 overall ceiling. You have to go Saquon one more time. I have to give Saquon one more chance. And then Swift is playing out of his mind since the bye week. The matchup's great. Give me Swift and Saquon in your lineup. Also, another question for a trade proposition. I get Isaiah Pacheco and JCM. They get Saquon. Do I lose in this trade? Yes. I'm not willing to exchange Saquon for Pacheco and Bill. Nah. Saquon is the side there. Origami Harvest has Chase Brown or Judkins. Just traded for Brown, and now I'm sure if I start him... I'm not going to go Chase Brown. I'm not going to start Chase Brown. The Jets' defense has actually been really good. They held J.K. Dobbins to 40 yards in London. And then last week, they also held their opponent to only 30 points. I think the Jets' defense is starting to look decent. And Chase Brown's still not going to score touchdowns. Give me Quinshon Judkins over Chase Brown. This is a very valid question. Has everyone hit the like button? We have 19 likes, 31 viewers. If you haven't done so, please hit that like button. If you've been watching the whole time, if I've answered your question, please hit the like button. Appreciate it in advance. But Willies and Ridge says Love or May. In this instance, it's really close. I literally have them back to back, but I'm going to go Jordan Love. I think he plays well against Aaron Rodgers. I think he steps up his game against Rodgers. Another question, Dobbins or wide receiver Johnston for Charger in the flex. That one is close. It's a good matchup for Dobbins, but probably higher upside with Johnston. I think I'm going to go QJ. I will take Quentin Johnston over Dobbins. I think the upside is just a little bit higher for Quentin Johnston. But if you want the safer play, if you just want to bank 10, 12 points, then go with Dobbins. The floor is Dobbins. The ceiling is Johnston. If it was my team, I'd shoot for the fence. I would go with Johnston. QJ over Dobbins. Then we're almost caught up in the questions, but Austin Kissinger says bench 1, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, or Keenan Allen tonight. I have to check my rankings on that one. That one's actually very, very close. I have Flowers ranked 3 spots behind T. Higgins. I have Keenan in the top 10. I have to start Keenan tonight. I'm going to bench Zay Flowers. That Ravens offense has just been a little bit suspect. I'm going to bench Zay Flowers. But it's very tempting to start Flowers this week. I'll be honest with you. But I don't think I'm going to do it. I'll bench Flowers of the 3. Bench Zay. And then the second time around. Okay, sweet. AJ Brown has not practiced this week. Is that true? Did I miss that on AJ Brown? I'm going to check that right now. AJ Brown is listed as questionable. The estimated return, though, is listed this weekend. And the full news blurb is that he missed Wednesday's practice with a hamstring injury, but he is on track to play. That's according to Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer. However, on Thursday, he did not practice either. On Thursday, he did miss practice again. So that is a legit question mark. I can't say for sure. Missing 2 practices is not good. But again, Jeff McLean of the Philadelphia Inquirer is corroborating his original stance that they are expecting him to suit up, according to the report I am Googling and checking on ESPN. That is what it says. So, not sure. According to RotoWire, they are expecting him to play, but he does not practice. I assume he'll start, but not totally sure. Oh, Kyle M is Kyle Monangai. No wonder. Yeah. I was like, the only Kyle I could think of is Kyle Williams, but that would be setting Man Ray's belt to Wumbo, and that was definitely incorrect. Kyle Monangai, for sure. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Bruce says, thanks for the advice. No problem, Bruce. Anytime. Fantasy Woat says, you think Pickens will receive the Surtain treatment since he's outside, or will he follow Lamb? I think Surtain is going to travel. I might be wrong. Maybe Surtain shadows Lamb. If he does shadow, it would be Lamb. But I think Surtain's going to just travel and like mix up, move around. I think both are like so good that you have to respect them and, just take your chances. Maybe he'll just stick to one side and then the Cowboys will mix it up. But I don't think you'll get 100% of snaps with Surtain on Pickens. If anything, he would be shadowing Lamb of the two. Jamie says, we had that May versus Herbert question earlier in our chat. My boss is the 6th overall quarterback ranker, and he said May. I have May top 5 and Herbert 11th. Very fair. I could see May be better. I fear the Browns matchup a little bit more. The Vikings aren't easy, but they are, I believe, league average. Oh no, they're bottom 10. They're 24th in the last month, but then the Browns are literally like bottom 3. So they both play at home. Herbert has no run game, neither does May. They both run it. I think they're both safe options, but last week Herbert threw for 420 yards. I'm going to trust Herbert. I mean, maybe it's the bias speaking, but I'm going to trust Herbert. But I will acknowledge, I have the two in 2 different teams, and tonight I'm only starting Herbert in the subscriber league. In the other team, I am starting May. I think May is good enough where I'm willing to mix and match. Last week, I started Herbert in both, and that was the right call. This week, I'm starting Herbert in only one. But personally, I do have it flipped. I have May at like number 11, and I have Herbert at number 5. I prefer Herbert tonight. Twisted Folks says different leagues, still half PPR. Flex Tucker Kraft or Terry McLaurin. We're going to flex Tucker Kraft. The Steelers are a top 2 matchup for opposing tight ends. Steelers, great spot. Great matchup for Kraft. Terry still might not play, and with Mariota, he's not the same option. The Chiefs matchup is very difficult. So I would be benching Terry for Tucker Kraft. Austin says Lamar comes back. That was fully expected. That's good news. 267 says Alt is back. That's fantastic. I'm glad Joe Alt is playing. And then Jamie says, have I watched the new football show on Hulu called Chad Powers? No, I don't have Hulu. I do not watch most TV programming other than like live football. When football's on during the season, I just like don't have time for like anything else. I'll go to the movies occasionally, but like a full series, I kind of pass on at this point in time. But Ike seems to like it, watches every week. Jamie says Surtain shadows 64%, second highest rate, and only plays slot like 5%, while Lamb plays slot 35%. Yeah, I can't envision Surtain is on Lamb 100% of the time, but I think he's going to be mostly on Lamb, and I think it'll be a mix and match. But both Pickens and Lamb will get some routes on Surtain. They'll mostly favor Lamb, but Solau Dolo, bias aside, who you think wins tonight? If I was not a Charger fan, I don't think I would be watching them close enough to feel this way. But if I was actually putting my money on this, I would definitely take the Vikings +3. Getting points against that defense, nah. I wouldn't bet against Kevin O'Connell tonight. I think they can win straight up, but to bet the Vikings money line feels a little too bold. I would take Vikings +3. I think they'll cover. And if you told me they won by a field goal, wouldn't be surprised. It's going to be like that Dolphins game. Like the Dolphins had the lead at one point. They did come back. The Chargers might start off red hot. They're not going to close it out, at least not strong enough where like it's a blowout win. It's going to be a close game. So that would be my safest like real life wager is Vikings +3. And then if you told me they won, not surprised at all. I do not envision a big win. Like there's no way it's a 2-possession game and the Chargers win. There's no way that happens. Yes, occasionally. But looks like we caught up, and I've been doing these kind of like as a tradition now, and I kind of like them. We're gonna do one primetime draft on Underdog. Let's pull up. It's not this one. This is our lineup tonight. A reminder of the 5 picks I do like. We do like Herbert for over 250 yards, Addison with over 55, Jefferson with over 100, and then Jordan Mason I think will score a touchdown. And then I also think Aaron Jones has at least like 15, 14 receiving yards. Those are the 4 picks I would recommend tonight. The 5 picks I would recommend. $6 with a 40% profit boost would return 233. That's not bad for $6 to 233. That's a pretty dope ROI if it clicks. But we need all 5. If one of these is wrong, then it doesn't work out. So it is risky, but a reminder: promo code BLUNT for new customers does get you $100 when you play your first 5. Does do that. But let me pull up Underdog. Speaking of Underdog, let me get it on the screen. All right, let me get rid of that. All right, so this was our wager, remember? Let me get the size correct. There we go. Okay, this was our wager. I just showed it to you, so not going to belabor the point, but these are the 5 picks I like tonight. Let's head over to the draft section, though, and there is the $10 Primetime Palooza, and then there's also a $5 Primetime Playbook, but that's only Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. So this $10 lobby, this $10 tournament, I don't think will fill. There's still almost 3,000 entries, and maybe it does fill, but only an hour left, even less time than that. So it closes in 52 minutes. Let's do one of these for $10. We will hop in. A chance to win $10,000 for first prize. So the 2 games tonight would be the Vikings and the Chargers, and then the Packers at Pittsburgh. Excuse me. And then you have to start 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and 1 tight end in this matchup. So I'm going to probably lean on, I think, tonight's game. I think it's really high scoring. I also like Sunday Night Football to be pretty high scoring as well, but I think I can reliably bet on some of the players in this matchup. So I'm going to hop in for $10 if you want to join with me. We're going to be entering any second now. Hit the button right now. I will join in 5 seconds if you want to join with me. 2 spots left, now down to 1, and it is now full. So let's have some fun. Let's take our shot. But we are pick 3, and running back looks like it's fading fast. Tight end is also going to be a weird position because there's Kraft, Gadsden, Hawkinson, and then the Steelers tight ends as well. I could see Jonnu and Freiermuth have a good game, though. The Packers are a good matchup for them. But at wide receiver, there's Jefferson, DK, Ladd, Addison, QJ, Keenan. Wow, Keenan is really low on this board. That's a good value. At running back, we have Xavier. Oh no, at the top we have Josh Jacobs, Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, Kimani Vidal, Aaron Jones, and then a bunch of backups. And then at running back, we have Herbert, Love, Aaron Rodgers, and Wentz in that order. I don't want to get stuck with Wentz. That's the only quarterback I don't want. But I want Tucker Kraft at tight end, that's for sure. Anyway, we are starting. Let's go. Let's show you the board, and there are some questions also still coming in. Origami says I'd go with the Chargers. I've got a good vibe about it. I hope so, man. I'm really hopeful that they get a home win, but it's been a while since they've done that. Cody says start Ladd over T. Yeah, I'm going to start Ladd McConkey over T. Higgins for sure. As a Niners fan, I'm all about believing in miracles this year. Right? Definitely need some good luck there. I hope you can overcome the injuries. Kyle Shanahan is coaching out of his mind. And with Kittle back, I think there is some optimism there. Good luck. I am hopeful for the Niners. Team 2 times out. And who did they take? They go Justin Jefferson. So I'm on the clock, and wide receivers a bit rough. I do not like the matchup for Jalen Warren. I think Jordan Mason finds the end zone. So I'll get in now. Actually, no. I'm going to grab Tucker Kraft. I think Kraft is a huge advantage, whereas I don't feel like there's a massive advantage with these running backs, the ones that are left. There's still Aaron Jones buried on the list. I like Aaron Jones tonight. Going to be less drafted overall. But Kraft, I think, is the right play. The Steelers are such a good matchup for the tight end position. But Foreign Barber says, what is that? If you're referring to Underdog, these are very fun. But do you think Xavier Hutchinson and Jaden Higgins will put up good numbers in fantasy football? I have to start them both with bye and injuries and stuff. I prefer Jalen Noel over both of them. But I am on the clock, and Mason is still there. I think that's what I'm going to try to do. Hopefully I can get both of the Vikings running backs. But that team, we're going to go DK Metcalf. All of the Charger receivers have been taken. And I think we're back now. I think we're back on. It appears that we're good now. But the team after me still doesn't have a running back. So assuming Aaron Jones doesn't get sniped here, which I don't think he can be, the team doesn't have that option. I will be taking Aaron Jones with this next pick. I think the Chargers' run defense is just so bad. Both Vikings running backs are going to have a good game. Give me Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones on this team. But both of the teams that were kind of setting up a Herbert stack don't get it. The team at 4 snipes them on Herbert. So this team with Jefferson and Addison probably goes Carson Wentz. And then the team with Jacobs, I assume, is going to go with Jordan Love. I'm hopeful for that because I'm trying to get the Aaron Rodgers stack. That's what I want. I might go Calvin Austin as well. But quarterback with one of these, my preference would be Rodgers. I'd kind of be pissed if I got stuck with Wentz. But I think gambling on Aaron Jones was worth it. And then that team goes Hawkinson, so we are good. We're at least gonna get love at the worst, but the move probably feels wiser to invest in the Chargers offense, and I don't have a single Charger on this team. So that could be bad for me. Might have wasted 10 bucks. That team does go Jordan Love, so we do get the Metcalf and Rodgers stack. I think Metcalf will play well in primetime. And then with our last pick, we're going to have to draft a wide receiver. So Golden is off the board. So is Romeo Dobbs. Jefferson and Addison are taken. There's Ladd, Keenan, and QJ off the board. The team goes Jonnu and Jalen Naylor. And so for the sake of the stack, I think it's pretty obvious. I think I have to go with Calvin Austin. Austin does have a game with 70 yards and a touchdown back in week 1. That was also a revenge game for Rodgers. Logs a full practice yesterday, so he will play. That is a no-brainer. I have to draft 2 wide receivers. We have the Rodgers stack. Give me Calvin Austin in round 4. So that's the team. Rodgers, Metcalf, and Austin. We have both of the Vikings running backs. I'm leaning into this Chargers matchup just being so good. And then our last player was our first round pick. We do have Tucker Kraft at the 103. So Kraft, Mason, Metcalf, Aaron Jones, Rodgers, and Calvin Austin. Not how I plan this team to go, but I think it's a better correlated roster than anybody else because the team with Wentz has no Vikings. The team with Love has no Packers. And then the team with Herbert has no Chargers. So that's strange. You need stacks in this. Stacking is the way to go. So at least I have a stack. Nobody else in this pod has that to speak of. So I'm comfortable with that in that regard. But I'm tempted to do one more. It's not the team I wanted to draft. But for $10, I'm not like dying to do it. Is there a different one I can do? They're all on Sunday, but they are cheaper. F it. I'll do one more. I'm going to do a heavy Chargers team on this one. And then I'll say goodbye. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll do one more smoke rip as well. So if you want to smoke it, if you got it. We get pick 3 again. That's a bummer. But let's let it happen. Okay, pick 3 one more time. We at least know how that went. And maybe this time I pass on Kraft at the 101. Maybe we go with Herbert or some receivers and set up that stack. Because Herbert went at pick 12. It feels like he should be going higher. But I think I'm going to grab a receiver at pick 3 instead of tight end this time. I think that's the move. If we can get Jefferson, I think we'll do that. But we're on the clock now. Team 1 is now on the clock. Team 1 times out, and they go Jacobs. It's a good player to time out with. And then Jefferson goes. I think I'm going to wait on running back again, and then I think we're going to go with Herbert. I think he's the most valuable quarterback in this. So we'll just take him here just to avoid the snipage, because if you told me team 4 grabs Herbert and Keenan, Herbert and Ladd, wouldn't be surprised at all. So I'll take Herbert right there, and then they go double running back, so we'll grab receiver. Let's just stick with ADP a little bit and take Ladd McConkey. Ladd has the most targets of the 3 over the last 3 games. I will go with Ladd. But I do have Keenan ranked higher, so I'm hoping that we get Keenan to come back around. At worst, I think I can get Gadsden, and we'll at least have a double stack with Justin Herbert here. But this team might take both of them. We could see QJ Keenan off the board there. So happy to get in ahead of time. And then looks like we have a question. Michael asks, full PPR flex Pacheco, Marks, Franklin, or Downs? Full PPR, Pacheco, Marks, Franklin, or Downs? We're going to go with Josh Downs. I think Downs will play. He was full in practice today, so I'd rather be favoring the receiver. And I like the spot for Woody Marks, to be honest with you. I think it's actually a decent matchup for him, but I prefer Josh Downs. I think Downs is in a better offense and has higher odds to score a touchdown. Give me Josh Downs. Sweet. Kraft off the board, so we at least get another crack at receiver. Do I go Keenan or do I go QJ? I think I'm going to go Keenan. I rank Keenan higher. I will stick to my ranks and go Keenan. And then you need to draft 2 receivers, so I expect this team to take another one, but very tempting to grab QJ as well. Like if Herbert really has that elite performance, that could be the way it happens. But since QJ has dropped passes and fumbled, he has not been the go-to target anymore. They do take Quentin off our hands. And then the team at 2 does not have a running back yet. They have a tight end. So I think I'm going to get ahead of the market. Gadsden goes, so don't even have that stack available. I will bet on Aaron Jones. I wanted a Vikings running back, and Jones, I think, is a really, really well-priced option in this setting. The upside's really high for a running back against the Chargers right now. So I will take Aaron Jones pretty happily. Jamie thinks the safest play is Marks. Not sure if Down's going to play. He was full in practice today. I think he's going to get 6, 7 targets. And in full PPR, I think that's the most valuable path for success. Marks has a decent matchup, but he's bad on the ground. Yardage-wise, I would expect Downs to give you a safer path for 50, 60 yards. I prefer Downs, but, do what you want. I do think Marks is relatively safe. I agree with like the second part of your statement where Marks is like a safe floor, but only because we don't know right now if Downs will be active. But if he was full in practice today, I assume he'll start, and that's where I'm willing to trust him as like a safety net. I think Downs will be the play. Would I start Hawkinson in the flex over Mims? Mims against Dallas or Hawkinson against the Chargers? Wow. For the floor, I would go Hawkinson, but the upside's really low and the matchup's not good. I would bet on the better matchup. The matchup is elite for Mims. Give me Marvin Mims over TJ Hawkinson. I'll go Marvin Mims there. And then here I need a tight end. So I'll take Freiermuth. The team after me, though, needs a receiver and a quarterback, and I think they're going to go Rodgers and Austin. I like Calvin Austin's upside. Going to take Calvin Austin. We took him in the first one as well, and I like that pick. But this team has wide receiver, and among the receivers left on the board, like they're all gross. So this is in my flex spot. I didn't have to take Calvin Austin, but I would rather take Calvin Austin than Jonnu Smith. And then I still need a tight end. I can go with Jonnu or Freiermuth and accept my fate. I think I'm going to go with Freiermuth. He has higher upside by a mile. Jonnu gets like nothing but checkdowns, like 3 for 28 and a touchdown. That's nice on 6 targets. But Freiermuth also had 6 targets last week, caught 5 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. He's targeted further down the field, and the Packers matchup is good. I would have preferred to have a different tight end, but I will accept my fate. And then, I mean, neither is safe, but I'm going to go Freiermuth. I think he'll be rostered in fewer of these as well. We want to get more unique, so we're going to go Freiermuth at tight end. So Herbert, Aaron Jones, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, Calvin Austin, and Pat Freiermuth. Perhaps I should have taken Gadsden instead of Keenan, but then I don't think we would have gotten... I think regardless, the team at 4 was going to grab 2 Chargers receivers at the 3-4 turn at picks 12 and 13. I think of the 3 between Keenan, QJ, and Gadsden, whichever one I picked, the other 2 are coming off the board from this team. So I'm fine with how I played it. Would have been nice to have Kraft, but we got him in the other team. We got the Herbert stack on this one. All's good. Nothing to complain about. Hawkinson I also don't like too much in this matchup. So yeah, that is the team. We were at 3, and we went Herbert, Ladd, Keenan, Aaron Jones, Calvin Austin, and Pat Freiermuth. I think Aaron Rodgers will have a solid game in the revenge spot. So that was our second one. That's going to be it for our underdog portion of the video. And a quick reminder, play $5 and get $100 for new customers when you sign up using code BLUNT. Promo code BLUNT gets you $100 in bonus cash when you play 5. But Jamie, with the final question of the stream, with the bye week apocalypse, I have to start Josh Reynolds in some leagues, and I don't hate it versus the Bengals. What do you think about him with Garrett Wilson out? I really have no strong opinion on which receiver to go with in the Jets. I think it's just going to be a big Breece Hall game, and I also love Mason Taylor this week. But let me pull up the Jets game log last week. So Breece Hall is actually questionable, but limited in practice both sessions. I think he'll be fine. Garrett Wilson was not practicing yesterday or today, has yet to practice, still questionable. Mason Taylor is questionable, did not practice on Thursday with a quad injury. No report on Wednesday, so that's weird. That sucks. Josh Reynolds had 9 targets last week. Alan Lazard had 3 targets last week. Arian Smith had 3. And it looks like you are making the right decision there. I could see Isaiah Davis have a really good game, but his volume has been really low. Only 4 touches max in any game this season. Actually has one with 5, so big whoop. 3 carries, 2 targets. Unless Breece Hall goes down, I wouldn't trust Isaiah Davis. But at receiver for the Jets, yeah, I guess I would go Josh Reynolds. But personally, I'd rather go Jalen Noel. If you can get Noel from the Houston Texans, I think that's a better play than Josh Reynolds. That's where I would lean. I also like Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, but Downs is rostered a lot. Pierce loses value if Downs does come back to the lineup. I do like Alec Pierce. And then in Houston, my preference is Jalen Noel. I'd rather go with Jalen Noel than Josh Reynolds. That's it. But all your teams are dynasty, so Noel's rostered. That makes sense. Then, yeah, I could tolerate Josh Reynolds, especially if Garrett Wilson doesn't play. If Wilson suits up, then fuck that. But if there's no Garrett Wilson, then that's fine. All right. I'm going to say goodbye. We've been live for an hour and a half, and I got to answer some questions. So peace out. Good night. Have a good time watching the game, and we'll be posting the rest of the rankings throughout the remainder of the weekend and injury updates on Saturday. Stay tuned for that, and drop a like on the way out if you have not done so already. If you still have not liked the stream, drop that like button. But I'll see you next time. Peace out. Enjoy the game.